Good evening. I'm Dr. Tisa Silver Kennedy, founder and executive director of the Maryland Center for Collegiate Financial Wellness. Welcome to Office Hours, our free virtual semi-monthly student debt clinic, helping Marylanders navigate repayment and prepare for success beyond their student loans. Before we get into the questions that have been submitted from our community, I just wanted to share a bit about the center with you, as well as office hours, and then we will go into the answers to the many questions we received about public service loan forgiveness, the new repayment plan, SAVE, and other issues that student loan borrowers have been facing. The Maryland Center for Collegiate Financial Wellness was founded in 2021 with a vision for all college and career school students in the state of Maryland, and that's that they have the opportunity to achieve these 6 pillars of financial wellness, those being creditworthy, ready, resilient, empowered, successful, and thriving. If this sounds like a mission that you would support, I encourage you to visit us online at mccfw.org/support so that you can find out different ways to get involved, whether it's becoming a volunteer, someone who helps us with amplifying messages over social media, or if you just would like to make a financial donation or sponsor a program such as Office Hours. You can find us and more information at mccfw.org/support. And again, our mission is to help students and families build their financial life skills, empower them to thrive. As for Office Hours started in December of 2021, and that is our free semi-monthly virtual student loan clinic that provides borrowers with a trusted venue to help them navigate student loans and prepare for financial success beyond repayment. Before we get into the questions, I need to share that Office Hours is being presented for informational purposes only. It should not be construed as financial or legal advice. We do our best to give you the most up-to-date information and to take into consideration all the factors that are shared with us in the questions that come in, but there are so many factors that you have to consider before making a decision about your student loans, those being your household finances, your personal finances, the types of student loans you have, the type of career you're in, your servicers, your lenders. All of that needs to be considered along with information that you receive from the lenders, the servicers, and reliable sources like the Maryland Center for Collegiate Financial Wellness. So please do keep that in mind when we go through the answers to the questions. This does not constitute personalized financial or legal advice. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I just want to share some updates with you from borrower experiences. A few categories here: the IDR adjustment and where we are in terms of seeing cancellation. Then that new repayment plan, or the revised pay-as-you-earn payment plan called SAVE versus pay-as-you-earn being updated in the loan simulator, as well as an update on the lawsuit that was filed to block cancellation being processed through the IDR adjustment. So let's start off with the timeline for cancellation. Last week, a wave of borrowers received paid in full notifications. And I wanted to share with you what that letter looks like. And this is a letter from a borrower that was dated for August 14th of 2023. Says, we've received payment in full on your loans listed on the enclosed loan information sheet. Retain this letter as a record of your paid in full status, and the letter only pertains to the loans referenced in the sheet or at the bottom of the letter, and not to any other loan that the servicer may have under that account number. The borrower should receive a similar notice for each loan as those loans are paid in full. Now, this is where it was confusing for some people that reached out to me with this letter. They saw that it said your paid in full status may be a result of one of the following: a payment made by you, a payment made on your behalf, or a school refund. Some people had public service loan forgiveness applications in the works, and they were wondering, well, does this mean that I got my loan forgiven by PSLF, or is this something else because I know I didn't make a payment? So this is the letter that people are receiving after their debts are canceled by way of the income-driven repayment adjustment. And this happens to be a borrower who had a PSLF application submitted. So you'll see there that Mohila is the servicer. And underneath that closing of the letter, there was just a little table that showed the information about the one loan that was canceled by way of IDR last week. So if you do receive a letter like this, it is legitimate, but like I told this borrower, I would go online to your servicer's website, look to see if the zero balance is there, look to see if there are any messages or communications from the servicer on your online account just to confirm. And if you want to call them and ask, you can do that too, or visit studentaid.gov, look at your aid dashboard and see if there's a balance there, because for some people, seeing the letter just, it doesn't stick yet. They need confirmation, and there are many ways that you can get that. So to all of you who have received a letter like this, I just want to say congratulations. I know that this is a long time coming, because if you're on the receiving end of a letter like this, that means that you have had a loan in repayment for at least 20 years. And that is not a small amount of time. So congratulations to you. And for those of you who are waiting and have already reached that milestone, I'm hopeful that you will receive your letter soon as well. All right, let's move on to the next update. That has to do with the new, it's not really a new plan, but it's the revised version of revised pay as you earn, which is called SAVE, which stands for Saving on a Valuable Education. If you take a look at the loan simulator now, you can see SAVE. Now, we were able to see it during our August 9th edition of Office Hours, but we received some questions afterwards about why the payments don't appear to have that much of a difference. So we're going to dig into that in just a little bit, but I did want to show you that if you do use the loan simulator, you will be able to see what payments look like under the SAVE plan versus the other income-driven repayment plans, such as IBR, ICR, and pay-as-you-earn, as well as the balance-driven plans. So the loan simulator has been updated to show you at least what the preliminary version of repayment under SAVE will look like. And remember, more changes are coming to SAVE in July of 2024. All right, let's move on to another update, which is the IDR adjustment lawsuit. So a lawsuit was filed to block any further loan cancellation through the IDR adjustment. The lawsuit identified two issues primarily. One was that periods of non-payment, the people who filed the lawsuit, the plaintiffs, believe that those periods should not be allowed to count as qualifying toward IDR or toward public service loan forgiveness. So people who had those lengthy forbearances or certain types of deferments, or who were late on a payment a few times, under normal circumstances, none of those months would count. But under the IDR adjustment, they can count. But this plaintiff did not believe that that was legal. They also alleged that this plan was arbitrary and capricious and should have gone through the process of negotiated rulemaking. Just wanted to share with you today that that lawsuit was dismissed. And so that waive that I mentioned from last Friday, it moved forward because the lawsuit was dismissed. Nothing at this point in time is set to block it. So we'll continue to look for more notifications from borrowers who have had their loans canceled by way of the IDR adjustment. And at least for now, there's no impediment to that cancellation being processed, and it's happening on a rolling basis, I believe, every other month. All right, so let's get into our first question. And this first question has to do with the topic that was covered on the August 9th edition of Office Hours. The question is double consolidation really a thing? I have loans for myself and my child. How would that work for me? So on the last edition of Office Hours, we were looking specifically at a parent who only had Parent Plus loans, but some borrowers have both Parent Plus loans and student loans that they borrowed for their own education. The double consolidation can still work for them, but the steps involved are a bit different. It's actually a bit easier. So just a bit about consolidation first and this double consolidation loophole. Borrowers can consolidate their loans to reduce the number of servicers. They can also extend their repayment term. And right now, during this IDR adjustment period, they can consolidate to gain credit for past payments that would have been ineligible for both income-driven repayment and public service loan forgiveness. With Parent Plus loans, usually the only income-driven repayment plan that's available to a Parent Plus loan borrower is income contingent repayment. And for most people, income contingent repayment is the least affordable of the repayment plans that are out there. With a double consolidation, a person who was previously only eligible for income contingent repayment could gain access to some of the more affordable repayment plans, such as pay-as-you-earn or this new SAVE plan. And those plans are attractive for a couple of reasons. One, because they lower the payment amount. But two, it's also a possibility that they could cut the repayment term down from 30 years to 25 or even 20. So the double consolidation is a real thing. Some people do it, and we're going to walk through an example of first what consolidation looked like before the IDR adjustment, then during the IDR adjustment, and then this specific borrower's question about consolidating Parent Plus loans with loans that the borrower took out for their own education. So prior to the IDR adjustment, if a person wanted to consolidate their loans to get on track for income-driven repayment or public service loan forgiveness, they would complete the consolidation application. And in this example, we have a person with two loans, one direct loan, one Parent Plus loan, and they have differing amounts of repayment history. If those two loans were consolidated before the IDR adjustment, the person would start off with 0 months of credit toward income-driven repayment and 0 months of credit toward public service loan forgiveness. So a lot of people decided not to consolidate because they didn't want to restart everything again and have another 10 years to pay before obtaining public service loan forgiveness, or another 25 years to pay for before being considered for cancellation by way of income-driven repayment. So a lot of people didn't consolidate. Then came the limited PSLF waiver period and this IDR adjustment that we're in, where the best benefits are available for people who apply to consolidate by the end of this year. So during the IDR adjustment, that same direct loan that had 60 months of history and that Parent Plus loan that had 110 months of history, when we combine those together, it's one new loan, but now that loan is credited for 110 months. So consolidation during the IDR adjustment is extremely advantageous. We have a situation where before the adjustment, the person consolidates, they get 0 credit toward IDR, 0 credit toward PSLF. During the IDR adjustment, they consolidate those loans and they get credit for the history that's attached to the oldest loan in the portfolio. So this person would jump from 0 to 110 just by consolidating their loans during this IDR adjustment period. Now, the way that the double consolidation loophole works is in phases, because it's going to involve more than one consolidation. So the first phase of this, let's call it round one. And this is for a person who has Parent Plus loans and direct loans for their own education. They would use the paper consolidation application to consolidate all of their Parent Plus loans. And along with that paper application, they would submit a request for an income-driven repayment plan as well. Once those Parent Plus loans have been consolidated, the person would need to consolidate again. This time, they could use the online application to take the previously consolidated Parent Plus loans and then consolidate them with their own direct unsubsidized loans. From there, we would have our final direct consolidation loan, which would then be eligible for more favorable repayment plans. But before you go down this road or attempt to go down this road, just know that for it to work, you have to have more than one loan. If you only have one loan, this is not going to work for you. You have to have more than one loan, so at least two. Next, you have to complete 2 consolidation applications in order for this to work, hence the term double consolidation. All right, so in this example, we're going to look at a parent who has 3 Parent Plus loans and 2 direct unsubsidized loans. Their Parent Plus loans total $54,000. Their direct unsubsidized loans that they took out for their own education are worth $30,000. So for round one, we're going to keep these loans separated by type. The first group, Group A, will hold the Parent Plus loans. The second group, which is Group B, will hold the direct unsubsidized loans that the borrower took out for their own education. The first step here is to apply using the paper application to consolidate the loans in Group A. So we're going to take all of those Parent Plus loans, lump them together, apply for an income-driven repayment plan with the servicer, and once that loan has dispersed, we will have a direct consolidation loan, okay? Now, you can't stop there. In order to get the advantage of the double consolidation loophole, they're going to have to consolidate again. So after the first round, this parent now has 3 loans, 1 consolidation loan and the original 2 direct unsubsidized loans. So for round 2, they're going to take that consolidation loan and those unsubsidized loans, and they're going to consolidate those together. Again, apply for an income-driven repayment plan and wait for the dust to settle. So to show you what this looks like from beginning to end, Group A, we have our Parent Plus loans. Group B, we have our direct unsubsidized loans. The first round will be to take those 3 Parent Plus loans, put them together, and they become a direct consolidation loan. The second round would then take the direct consolidation loan and the 2 direct unsubsidized loans, consolidate them together, and now we have our final direct consolidation loan, and I call that one DCL2, the double consolidation loan. Now, I wanted to show you an example of why a parent might go through all this trouble. The repayment options for a parent who does not, for a parent who consolidates to get on track for income-driven repayment, there's only one payment plan they can use, and that's the income contingent repayment plan. So for this parent, who I have a single with no dependents and adjusted gross income of $70,000, here are their options after a double consolidation. But first, I'm going to start with ICR. ICR would have been an option for them before the consolidation. So I want you to see what this looks like before and after. So before the double consolidation, if they had just stopped at the single consolidation and put all their loans together one time, ICR would obligate them to pay $820 per month. And for the parents that I'm working with, that's simply not affordable. They also have access to a standard 30-year plan for a consolidation loan. That payment will be $504. Definitely more affordable, but no hope for cancellation. You would just pay that each month for 30 years. And if you pay on time and full as promised, it would be gone after 30 years. Now, with the double consolidation, we now have access to potentially income-based repayment as well as revised pay-as-you-earn/save. Under income-based repayment, the payment would drop to an estimated $401. With SAVE, that would drop to $310. And once SAVE is fully implemented in 2024, that payment will be cut even further. So if you take a look at these numbers, someone could start out with $820 for their monthly payment and end up, by the end of this year with a payment of $310. So it's easy to understand why a person might want to go through this trouble, because it definitely sets you up for having more affordable options. And there's also the prospect of having some of that debt canceled instead of paying it all off. So to answer this question, yes, the double consolidation loophole is a thing, and it's a thing that many parents are seriously exploring right now. Okay. All right. So SAVE has been really, really popular. And so we have another question that's about the SAVE repayment plan, which is, how does the interest subsidy work with SAVE? So SAVE includes a provision, according to the Department of Education, where borrowers will no longer be charged for interest that is not covered by their required payment. This doesn't mean that interest is going to stop accruing. What this means is that they are going to prevent a situation that occurs with negative amortization. That's when you have a loan and there's so much interest accruing that your monthly payments are not keeping up with the interest each month. So you're making payments, but you're seeing your balance continue to rise because your payments are not large enough to cover the interest and attack some of the principal. So with SAVE, interest is still going to accrue. It's just that the government is going to take care of the extra interest that remains after a person has satisfied their required payment. So the example I have here with Joe, Joe's monthly payment is $85. Joe's loans accrue $110 of interest each month. So in a normal situation, Joe is on track for negative amortization, which means he's going to keep on making payments and he's going to keep seeing his balance rise instead of fall. Every month, he has an extra $25 of interest that would need to be paid before he could begin to start attacking the principal. But since his $85 payment isn't going to cut it, the government is going to take responsibility for that remaining $25 worth of interest. That way, Joe will not see his balance continue to rise even as he makes the payments that are required of him. So I just wanted to clarify that interest is still going to accrue. It's just for borrowers who are making payments that aren't enough to cover that interest, they're no longer going to see the interest continue to mount. So this is a really big deal, because one huge problem for borrowers who have been paying under these income-driven repayment plans is that the payments are affordable, but they're not enough to cover the interest. And if your payment never covers the interest, you won't be able to reduce your principal. And that's how you find people that have been in repayment for 20, 25, or 30 years and still could owe more than they originally borrowed. That's a real thing, okay? All right, more about SAVE. We've got another question. I use the loan simulator, and SAVE is only $80 less than the plan I'm on now. Should I apply? Let's take a look. So SAVE is definitely going to be more affordable than the plan it's replacing, which is called Revised Pay As You Earn. And this person wants to know, is it worth bothering with the application process? Before I answer this question, I just wanted to share that we need to remember SAVE will not be fully implemented until the summer of 2024. So the numbers that you're seeing inside of the loan simulator don't fully reflect how affordable SAVE can be. But in the summer of 2023, some parts of SAVE have been implemented already. One of those changes that will impact the monthly payment amount is the income exemption. This income exemption is based on how a person's adjusted gross income compares to federal poverty guidelines. So under Revised Pay As You Earn, 150% of the poverty line is compared to a person's adjusted gross income. And then a percentage of whatever that difference is dedicated to their student loan payment. They're going to take that exemption and raise it from 150% to 225%. So effectively, that means that for every borrower on this plan, more of their income is going to be protected. That means their payments will be lower. The second thing is what we just saw with the previous question. They're no longer going to charge for interest that isn't covered by the borrower's required payment. And thirdly, married borrowers who file separately will no longer have to include their spouse's income in their payment calculation. So the first benefit of SAVE that we'll be able to see quite easily will be that income exemption, rising from 150 to 225% of the federal poverty guideline. Next summer is when many people will see the big difference. That's when payments will be capped at 5% of discretionary income instead of the 10% that they are capped at now. So next summer, we'll see payments cut by more than half. Now, keep in mind that 5% cap applies to undergraduate loans only. Graduate school loans only would be at 10%. And if you have a combination of undergrad and graduate school loans, then it would be a weighted average based on the original principal balance. But either way, you're looking at no more than 10%. All right. So I really wanted to show you all the math, what this looks like for an existing income-driven repayment plan, which is Pay As You Earn, and SAVE, which is the revised version of Revised Pay As You Earn. So under Pay As You Earn, here's the formula. A borrower would pay 10% of the difference between their adjusted gross income and 1.5 times the federal poverty guideline. So for our borrower, Ann, who's single and lives in Maryland with an AGI of $70,000, we would take 10% of the difference between $70,000, which is Ann's adjusted gross income, and 1.5 times the federal poverty guideline, which is $14,580. So if we do that annually, she would be required to pay $4,813 on a monthly basis. That shakes out to about $401. The SAVE plan. Right now, SAVE is still set at that 10% cap, but this is where you see that, that extra income protection kick in. Instead of 1.5 times that federal poverty guideline, it's 2.25 times that federal poverty guideline. So there's less income for them to pull from. So with that new higher income protection, Ann is going to be annually required to pay $3,720, which means her monthly payment will drop down to $310. So right away, we can see the 310 versus the 401. But I also want you to see next summer when SAVE fully kicks in. That's when we'll see the cap is as low as 5%. So if all of these loans were undergrad, we'd say that Ann is going to be obligated to pay 5% of her discretionary income, which is the difference between her adjusted gross income and that 2.25 times the federal poverty guideline. That drops Ann's obligation to $1,860 per year and $155 per month. So if we started with the original pay as you earn, we are at $401 per month. If we go to the version of SAVE that's currently visible in the loan simulator, we've dropped to $310 per month. Once SAVE is fully implemented next summer, we're expecting that payment to drop to $155 per month. 401 versus 155, extremely big difference. And if you were a Parent Plus loan borrower, remember, you'd have to be on ICR. That payment was like 802. So if you did that double consolidation, you could go possibly from 802 to $155 per month. So once SAVE is fully implemented, this is definitely going to be a big deal. It's going to save a lot of people a lot of money. I'm going to pause for just 1 minute because I see we have a question in the comments. It says, if you apply for the SAVE program, but also apply for student loan forgiveness, will the change interfere with that? That is an excellent question that I've actually received a couple of times. And the answer is no. If you've applied for public service loan forgiveness, that application will not be affected by your application for a new repayment plan. SAVE is an income-driven repayment plan, and all of the income-driven repayment plans are qualifying plans for public service loan forgiveness. So if you are on revised pay-as-you-earn now and you shift over to SAVE, you are still on track with an income-driven repayment plan. So any months in that plan, SAVE or revised pay-as-you-earn will continue counting toward public service loan forgiveness as long as you have the qualifying employment. As for forgiveness through the IDR adjustment, same thing. If you stay in the realm of income-driven repayment plans, then going from repay to SAVE or pay-as-you-earn to SAVE is not going to disqualify you from that path to forgiveness. Okay, as long as you stay in the realm of income-driven repayment plans, then you're still on the path for public service loan forgiveness and cancellation by way of IDR. Okay, so great question. Thank you for that. All right, so I just showed you like the math behind all of this, but I wanted to show you what this looks like on the loan simulator in two examples. One of them is without public service loan forgiveness. The other is with public service loan forgiveness. So if you use the loan simulator, you'll be able to see what repayment looks like under, I think, 8 different repayment plans. But if you want to compare them side by side, you're allowed to select up to 3. So I selected the SAVE plan, regular income-based repayment, and the standard plan. I always like to show borrowers the standard repayment plan because when you graduate or separate from an institution and go into repayment, if you don't select a repayment plan for yourself, the standard plan will be selected for you. This example is a bit different because it's about consolidated loans, and the standard repayment plan for a consolidation loan has a repayment term of 30 years. So let's take a look at how these plans stack up against each other. SAVE, the monthly payment projected for the first year with our borrower with the AGI of $70,000, that payment is $310, and that is the payment that's effective under SAVE now. Next year, that payment we would expect it to decline. Under income-based repayment, the starting payment would be about $401 per month. The standard plan, which is a 30-year plan, would require a person to pay $667. When you look at this, for a person in this situation, it would make no sense whatsoever to enroll in the standard plan. Why enroll in a plan that's going to take you 30 years to pay off when you have the option to pursue it in 20 years? But just wanted to share with you what options are out there. So with SAVE and income-based repayment, we're assuming these loans were undergraduate loans, they could be repaid off in 20 years. If the person took the standard consolidation loan route, it would take 30 years. Now, we've seen what this looks like on a monthly basis, but what does the bottom line look like? if a person goes with either of these repayment plans. If they choose the SAVE plan, the loan simulator projects that a person would end up paying back about $149,000 altogether. With the income-based repayment plan, that number jumps up to $176,219. With the standard repayment plan, that figure jumps up to $240,000. So if a person took, the full 20 to 30 years, we're looking at a significant outflow. And I have to say, this person started out with $110,000 to begin with. So that's why the numbers that you see are so large. But if you still stack these plans up against each other in terms of the overall amount paid, the SAVE plan is obviously the one that is going to save the person the most money. It would lead to them paying the least amount overall. The standard 30-year plan would make them pay the highest amount overall, and that makes sense. You're dragging out the payment for 30 years. That's more time for interest to accrue. There is no interest subsidy. You're just going to pay it all back in 30 years. So that's how SAVE stacks up against the standard plan and traditional income-based repayment. Now, let's take a look at what could happen for a person who's enrolled in public service loan forgiveness. Now, with the SAVE plan, we're looking at a starting payment of $310. SAVE is a plan that you have to certify your income every 12 months. So it's possible that your payment will rise. Where you see that monthly ending payment, those are projections based on where the loan simulator thinks you will be in terms of income and household size 10 years from now. So that 567, we can't really put any stock in that right now. The 310 is the only thing that we can be pretty sure of. So for the SAVE plan, the monthly payment is $310. For pay as you earn, the payment is $401. That standard plan stays exactly the same, $667. Now, for a person who is going to apply for public service loan forgiveness, we are looking at a minimum 10-year commitment. So we would expect that these loans will be paid off 10 years from now, July of 2033. With pay as you earn, same deal. It's an income-driven repayment plan. It qualifies for public service loan forgiveness. So we're again looking at July 2033. That standard plan, all the way on the end, we're looking at 30 years, July 2053, fixed payment the entire time, but also the greatest amount repaid overall. So if you can avoid that, I definitely would. Now let's take a look at what that looks like in terms of the overall amount to be repaid. Now remember, this is for a borrower who took out $110,000 worth of loans originally. If they pay using the SAVE plan, the projection is that they will end up repaying $51,467. And you read that correctly. They borrowed $110,000, but they'll only end up repaying approximately $51,467. The reason being, SAVE caps the payments at 5% of discretionary income, and with public service loan forgiveness, we're only paying this loan back for a projected 120 months. With pay as you earn, the time frame is the same. It's still 120 months, but the formula isn't as forgiving. It's 10% of discretionary income. So the person would end up paying back about $64,000, still far less than they originally borrowed. But look at how this stacks up against the standard plan. The standard plan is a fixed 30-year plan. And if somebody takes this route, they're going to end up paying more than double what they originally borrowed. So that $110,000 debt swells to $240,000 repaid. And I also must say that that $240,000 will be even higher if a person, takes a forbearance or puts their, payments on pause. So things can get lengthier and more expensive. But with public service loan forgiveness, you're looking at a minimum of 10 years versus the standard plan, which is a minimum of 30 for the consolidation loan. So ultimately, to answer this borrower's question, is it worth applying for SAVE? I'm going to say I think it is. However, it depends. For some people, like I'm working with one person right now, this person is set to reach their 120th qualifying payment for public service loan forgiveness in October. October is also the first month that payments resume. Now, would I advise this person to enroll in SAVE or apply for SAVE? I have to say probably not. The reason being, they're going to reach 120 in October. If they apply for SAVE, I'm not saying that I don't think the application will go through, that there will be any issues. I'm just saying that this adds another variable to the equation. Right now, we know for sure October is going to be 120. And that means that after that payment is made, they will submit their final PSLF application and their loan should be discharged. I would not want to add another variable to the mix personally, but if SAVE could save them a few dollars, because that income exemption is going to rise from 150% of the poverty line to 225% of the poverty line. So if they want to save that bit of money, then I would recommend they take the chance. Me personally, I would want my PSLF discharge process to go as smoothly as possible. So I probably wouldn't, but these are not my loans. This is another person. If it results in them saving money, then I would recommend that they go ahead and move forward with it. But all of that to say, it really depends on where you are in the repayment journey. There's no reason not to apply for SAVE, but if you are one of those people who is right at the edge of PSLF, it might not even be necessary for you to change your repayment plan right now because PSLF is coming. And if your PSLF application, your final one, takes a long time to review, you will get a refund for any overpayment on the direct loans. So you'll get that money back if the process drags out. But I don't see any reason not to apply for SAVE. Just my personal preference with PSLF. If I'm right there at the finish line, I'm not doing anything to rock that boat. Okay. All right. So that actually does it for the questions that were submitted tonight. But I just wanted to share some tips for getting ready for repayment, because we know for certain that repayment is coming. It's set to resume in October. So here's some things you can do to get ready for repayment. The first thing is to log into studentaid.gov. Studentaid.gov, not studentaid.com, but studentaid.gov. That is the best place to go, because in that one spot, you can view your loans, you can view your servicers, you can view the repayment plan that you are currently enrolled in, and you can determine if that payment is affordable. And if it's not, maybe you want to go ahead and submit that application for SAVE right away. You also want to make sure that you have updated your contact information within studentaid.gov and update your contact information with your servicer. The servicer is separate from studentaid.gov. So we're talking about two different platforms, and you want to make sure that you have updated your contact information with both of those parties. Also, for people who had commercially held loans, those were loans that were not included in the payment pause. So they have been making payments all along, while people with federally held loans have been included in the payment pause. So repaying their commercially held loans is not going to be any different. But for people who have both types of loans, now they're going to be in a situation where they're going to have to incorporate that federally held loan payment back into the budget. So if you have commercially held loans, you might want to consider consolidating them so that you could potentially benefit from the income-driven repayment adjustment. I will say that consolidation is not the answer for everyone. For some people, they earn so much relative to what they owe that if they consolidate, the income-driven repayment plan will cause their payment to rise, and they might not want to do that. But I do think that it's worth exploring for everyone. And you can take a look at that at studentaid.gov under the subject, the IDR account adjustment. Also, I always like to close out with options for accountability because sometimes we have problems with loan servicers and lenders. And there are several options that you have for reporting those issues. First, you can file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, also known as the CFPB. They are online at consumerfinance.gov. You can also file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Education through the Ombudsman. And if you go on to the studentaid.gov website, you will find the Ombudsman's page has very specific instructions about evaluating whether your particular issue is one that the Ombudsman would get involved in. A common issue is reconsideration for public service loan forgiveness, and there's a request process for that. This would be for anyone who feels that their payment count is inaccurate and they would like for that payment count to be reconsidered. And I have a feeling we're going to see an uptick with these types of requests just based on some feedback that I'm receiving from borrowers about the PSLF application process right now. At the state level, Maryland is a state that has a student loan ombudsman. The student loan ombudsman can assist with problems that borrowers are having with their loan servicers. Those problems include failure by the servicer to communicate with the borrower, errors in crediting principal and interest payments, misapplied payments, inaccurate interest rate calculations, billing errors, loan consolidations or modification errors, and or inappropriate collection activity or tactics. These things happen, and if you have reached out to your servicer and have not been able to achieve resolution, I would encourage you to engage the state's ombudsman if you are a resident of Maryland. And you can also engage the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and check to see if the ombudsman through the U.S. Department of Education would handle your issue as well. But always start with the servicer first. And if things don't seem like they're getting anywhere, then you can engage these third parties. As for the ombudsman, if you are currently in repayment and you have a complaint about your student loan servicer, you can visit the Maryland Student Loan Ombudsman's website and file a complaint there online through the state's Department of Labor. Maryland is also a state that has a student loan borrower's Bill of Rights. To learn more about the protections to which Maryland borrowers are entitled and the obligations of student loan servicers, you can also visit the state's Department of Labor and look at that student loan Bill of Rights. All right, so that does it for the questions that we have received for this edition of Office Hours. Again, my name is Dr. Tisa Silver Kennedy, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Maryland Center for Collegiate Financial Wellness. We meet twice per month, usually on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Office Hours. And after the broadcast, usually within 48 to 72 hours, we upload these episodes to YouTube. At our YouTube channel, which is the Maryland Center for Collegiate Financial Wellness. And you'll find that the videos have been annotated so that you can go straight to the content that you are looking for. Thank you for everyone who joined this August 23rd edition of Office Hours. We had some technical difficulties with the original broadcast, so I just wanted to re-record this segment that came after the questions that were submitted by our community because I did check the comments and we actually had an experience come up from a borrower about public service loan forgiveness. To give some background on this borrower, the borrower has about 15 or maybe 16 years of work experience for nonprofit organizations and state government and applied for public service loan forgiveness earlier this summer, maybe late spring. Went ahead, submitted a consolidation application, submitted PSLF applications for a couple of employers, and we really thought that their debt would have been cleared by now by way of PSLF because it's been more than the 3 or 4 months since the applications were submitted. But the person reached out to me a couple of days ago and said that they received notification from Mohila that their payments would be resuming in October and the payments would be $4,000 per month. Now, this is a problem on many levels, one of them being that the person completed an application for income-driven repayment, and the person does not make enough money to have a payment that's $4,000 per month. Now, with a significant debt load, it's quite possible to see a payment that high. It's not something that happens often, but it does happen. And for this borrower, a payment that high simply is not possible. So my advice was to contact Mohila to find out the status of their application for income-driven repayment, and to also find out about their application for public service loan forgiveness. They did call, and they were told that they had one qualifying payment with 119 to go. So what I suspect is the case is that this person is in that first count phase, where the first count after consolidation is unusually low, because from what we've seen with many borrowers who applied during the waiver period, the first count after consolidation only considers the history of the new consolidation loan. And since it's new, it doesn't have a lot of history, hence the low payment count. Usually a few weeks later, an updated payment count that arrives that is more accurate and reflects the history of the loans that went into the consolidation loan. So I'm hopeful that that is where we are with this borrower, and that within a few weeks, we will hear back from the servicer that their application has been approved and the debt has been forgiven. If you're finding yourself in a situation where you applied for income-driven repayment, but the payment amount that you're seeing on your servicer's portal or in the communications that your servicers have sent to you, if that payment looks high or just not right, please do reach out to your servicer, call them so you can get an explanation for why the payment is so high. It could be that you were enrolled in a fixed payment plan instead of an income-driven plan. But you need to contact your servicer so that they can straighten that out, because if you can't make the payment, I really don't want anyone to be in a situation where they can't make the payment and don't make the payment, because if you don't make the payment, you won't get credit toward things like public service loan forgiveness or the income-driven repayment adjustment. It is a good thing that there will be this on-ramp period, I believe for the next 12 months, where the consequences of missing a payment will not be as severe. That negative credit reporting, the possibility of going into default after 9 months of missed payments. For the on-ramp period, those things are not supposed to happen. But still, if you miss a payment, you will lose the opportunity to get credit toward PSLF and IDR. So I will definitely report back with updates about that particular borrower situation. But I know that this is not an isolated incident. There are several people who have reported seeing payments that look unusually high and don't match the repayment plan that they were enrolled in before we went into this payment pause that started in March of 2020. So outside of that, as I get prepared to close out this edition of Office Hours, I just wanted to say thank you so much for those of you who have been supporting, for those of you who have subscribed to our YouTube channel and who are leaving comments and are engaging with us. We are really encouraged by the interaction and, do our best to provide you with answers. I do get a lot of questions about one-on-one advising and what the process is for securing those types of sessions with the center. So right now, the center has been funded with project funds. So we have to use that funding specifically as we requested it in our funding proposal. And that's linked to two projects. One is in Prince George's County, Maryland. The other one is Baltimore City. And these projects are part of the No More O Less program, which is a program of the center geared toward pre-K through 12th grade educators in those locations, Prince George's County, Maryland, and Northeast Baltimore City, helping educators get on track for loan forgiveness and helping them just feel more comfortable with having a student loan repayment strategy that minimizes their debt and maximizes their benefits. So if you are an educator in Prince George's County or Baltimore City, please do reach out to us. We'll be having a webpage go up soon about the No More O Less project so that we can get out into the schools, have events, and begin providing more one-on-one advising sessions for educators in those locales. Also, for myself and our Director of Programs and Administration, Ms. Melanie Mason, we offer a certain number of pro bono hours each month concentrated on Marylanders, and we'll release the calendar for the month of September in early September. Beyond that, we are working to grow the center so that we can begin to support free one-on-one student loan repayment strategy consultations from Marylanders, but this is a work in progress. We started in 2021, had a couple of projects that allowed for that type of advising to take place for free with no charge to the clients, but that funding is time sensitive, and the most recent arrangement that we had ended on July 31st. So we're still here. We're eager to help. We're just always looking for funding to support the expansion of free student loan advising for Marylanders. In the meantime, if you have a need for advising, I highly recommend TISLA, which is the Institute for Student Loan Advising. It's run by an awesome student loan expert, Betsy Mayotte, and I recently completed a training with her just last week, because it's never too late to learn more about anything, but especially this space of student loans, as we've seen so many changes in just the past year. So you can reach out to the TISLA team at freestudentloanadvice.org and tell them that TISA sent you. All right. So as I said, thank you so much for your support and for joining us for office hours, for subscribing and engaging across all of our social platforms. I expect to be here the second Wednesday of September for the next edition of office hours. If you do have a question, please submit it at mccfw.org/contact, or leave a comment on YouTube on this video, and we will make sure that we get back to you. And if we answer your question in the next edition of office hours, we will be sure to reach out and share the answer with you. Thanks again, and until next time, be well.